Hi all, a very good morning. Hope you all are fine and good. Today I came with the concept Mendel's law of inheritance. So what Mendel stated about inheritance is that all we will discuss today. Mendel postulated three laws which are now called after his name as Mendel's law of heredity. Mendel, he proposed three laws related to inheritance and in heredity. Now these laws are called as Mendel's law of heredity. They are law of dominance. Sometimes law of dominance is also called as law of dominance and recessive. Next one, law of segregation, and the last one, law of independent assortment. In these three laws, we can differentiate it into two. Law of segregation and law of dominance gives information and examples of monohybrid cross, whereas law of independent assortment gives us information about dihybrid cross. What is law of dominance? Law of dominance, coming to the definition part of law of dominance, when two homozygous individuals with one or more set of contrasting characters are crossed, the characters that appear in the F1 hybrids are dominant characters and those do not appear in F1 are recessive characters. So what he stated here, if we take two individuals which are having two or more identical character pairs and if we cross them, the resultant hybrid which comes in the first filial generation, that is F1 generation, exhibits dominant characters and those that does not appear in F1 are called recessive characters. You can see the diagram here. If there are two alleles coding for the same trait and one is dominant, it will show up in the organism while the other won't. So when two alleles are coding for the same trait, take color, for example pink color or violet color, purple color, when both are crossed, we will get the dominant one exhibited as F1 and while the other one will be as a recessive, which is in dormant condition. Coming to the explanation part of law of dominance, the dominance and recessive of genes can be explained on the basis of enzymatic functions of genes. So how to explain law of dominance or recessiveness of genes? These can be explained on the basis of the enzymatic functions of genes. Thus, that can be explained like the dominant genes are capable of synthesizing active polypeptides or proteins that form functional enzymes, whereas the recessive genes, the mutant genes, code for incomplete or non-functional polypeptides. There are two types of genes which we are discussing here. One is dominant genes and the other one is recessive genes. Dominant genes are able to synthesize active polypeptides or proteins that forms functional enzymes, and recessive genes code for incomplete or non-functional polypeptides. This is the reason why dominant genes are exhibited and recessive genes are dormant. Therefore, the dominant genes produce a specific phenotype while recessive genes fail to do so. Here what happens, because of the enzymatic action and the functional enzymes, dominant genes can produce phenotype of a particular or specific, whereas the recessive ones fails to exhibit that phenotype. In heterozygous condition also, the dominant gene is able to express itself so that the heterozygous and homozygous individuals have similar phenotype. Even though their internal structure genotype is different, the dominant gene can exhibit or express itself even in heterozygous condition. That is the reason why heterozygous and homozygous individuals have similar phenotype. And coming to critical appreciation of law of dominance, what it has. Scientists conducted crossbreeding experiments to find out the applicability of law of dominance. So what happened here? Scientists, after studying the theories or laws which were given by Mendel, they did experiments like crossbreeding to find the applicability of law of dominance. So who all conducted the experiments? Experiments were conducted by Correns on peas and maize. So on peas and maize, Correns conducted experiments, Shermark on peas, DeVries on maize, and Bateson and his collaborators on variety of organisms, and Davenport on poultry, First on rabbits, Toyama on silkmoth, and many others. After all doing this search or conducting experiments for law of dominance, these scientists observed that a large number of characters in various organisms are related as dominant and recessive. So they finally concluded and observed that there are large number of characters in various organisms that are related as dominant and recessive. And what is the importance of law of dominance? Coming to the importance of law of dominance, the phenomenon of dominance is of practical importance as the harmful recessive characters are masked by the normal dominant characters in the hybrid. So this phenomena of doing crossbreeding, law of dominance, is having practical importance. How it can be practically important? We can suppress or mask the harmful recessive characters by the normal dominant characters in the hybrids by applying law of dominance. A person hybrid for all these characteristics appears perfectly normal. So when a person of hybrid for all these characters or characteristics appear perfectly normal. In human beings, a form of idiocy, diabetes, hemophilia, etc. are recessive characters. Thus, harmful genes can be existed as recessive for several generations without expressing themselves. Exceptions to law of dominance. So what were the exceptions? Law of dominance has an exemption as the incomplete dominance. After Mendel, several cases were recorded by scientists where F1 hybrids exhibited a blending of characters of two parents. So this is called as incomplete dominance. These hybrids were found to be the midway between the two parents. So the hybrids which were produced in the F1 generation were of middle, like a red one is crossed with a white one, they got the pink one. So this is the midway between the two parents. This is also known as incomplete dominance or blending inheritance. Anyone ask what is blending inheritance? Blending inheritance is nothing but exhibition of both the characteristics with a new form. It means two genes of the allelomorphic pair are not related as dominant and recessive. Here, two genes of the allelomorph are not related as either dominant or recessive, but each of them express itself partially. So partially they exhibited both the dominance, so that is why it happened as blending inheritance. As for example, if we see the 4 o'clock plant, which is having the scientific name as Mirabilis jalapa, when plants with red flowers are crossed with the plants having white flowers, the hybrids bear pink flowers. So here they took two varieties, red and white. In the F1, either it should be red or white, but it produced pink colored flowers. When these F1 plants with pink flowers are self-pollinated, they develop red, pink and white flowered plants in the ratio of 1:2:1 in F2 generation. The next filial generation, when pink self-pollinated between the pink and the pink, they gave red white and pink. Three colors were exhibited in the ratio 1:2:1.